Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Am I the Bad Person? So, this week we're going to be talking about how to deal with setbacks. Sometimes in life, not everything goes as planned, whether it's something that's outside of our control or just things that happen just because, sometimes it's hard to kind of get through things, without being unscathed. But life, as you know, is not a path, a straight path. Sometimes you're going to have bumps in the road. Sometimes you're going to have paths that are kind of winding and overall not an easy journey sometimes. But yeah, let's dive into some scenarios about that. So the first question is, am I the bad person for shouting at my husband when he comes into the room during a timed test? About 3 months ago, I was laid off from my job in the tech industry. It was unexpected and a big hit for me mentally, as I enjoy working and feeling like I'm good at my job and contributing. I've been working through a resulting identity crisis with my therapist, but I absolutely hate being at home and not having a routine. So I've also been applying far and wide. I've had a couple interviews, but none have led to any offer yet. Last week, I was invited to complete a time written test for a company that I would love to work for. They informed me in advance the time test would last an hour and told me the date and time when they would send it to me. I'm someone who gets extremely nervous during interviews and these things, and so I spent a lot of time preparing, but I also told my husband that I would need to not be disturbed during the test at all. I asked him to please not walk into the room during the duration of the test at all, and to not bother me in any way, because I know how stressed I get and how I need maximum focus, and reassured me that he understood. Fast forward to the test yesterday. I was taking it in our second bedroom/office with the door closed. With about 15 minutes to go, the nerves and stress started to set in, and I was a little frantic trying to finish the task and leave myself time to proofread. That's when my husband walked into the room saying, "Sorry, ignore me. Ignore me." Right away, I said, "Please get out." And he said, "Ignore me. I just need to grab something quickly." And started digging through the drawer of the desk I was sitting at. That's when I lost my temper and yelled, "I can't ignore you. I need you to not be standing over me right now. Just get the fuck out." He left and made a point to slam the door. Afterwards, I came out to apologize to him and explained that I was just really stressed and that I had asked him repeatedly to stay out of the second bedroom for 1 hour. He said he doesn't understand why it's such a big deal and that I massively overreacted by snapping and hurt his feelings. It's been over 24 hours and he's still mad at me. Am I the bad person? So I'm just going to say outright that you're not the bad person in this case. And the reason for that is quite simple. Is because, you're going through a stressful time. You just lost your job and you're trying to push along and try to make yourself happy by feeling useful. And sometimes everyone feels like that when they've just lost their job. When you lose your job, it's kind of like you feel like the world's ending and you have nowhere to go, and every day seems like it's like dragging, and it's hard. It's honestly very hard. So I understand the stress you're going through. So when you're presented with an opportunity to potentially have a job, and it's not that your husband was trying to jeopardize it, but at the same time, it's kind of like he was, by intruding while you were taking a timed exam. I think it's important to understand that, when you have these kind of situations, it's important to respect boundaries, whether the person's having an interview, a timed exam, or any kind of thing like that. It's important to, keep your distance until it's over completely, and then go about your business, because I feel like with 15 minutes remaining, it didn't make sense for him to just barge in and kind of just try to take what he needed. He could have just waited the time. So yeah, I agree that you're not the bad person. And yeah, so let's move on to the next one. Am I the bad person for refusing to help out my old music club after they kicked me out? For some backstory, I, 21M, have been part of my uni's music club for a little over more than a year up, until this September. I first auditioned as a guitarist and got in around September 2023. And because of my connections I have in the music scene here, I've been very involved in the music industry since I was 14. I help provide certain things for free that weren't available to the club before: sound engineers, studio time, access to certain events, etc. I agreed with the board at the time and decided to keep my involvement on the low, as it would undermine the board a bit and might cause problems. The issue started when a new board was elected this semester, and it just so happens that the new president is someone that belonged to the same friend group within the club, which ended up breaking up, and we fell into two different sides. We'll be calling her Emma to make things easier. As soon as Emma got elected, she decided to kick us out for being problematic, and that was that. At first I thought about cutting them off right after I was out, but some of my friends were still part of the club and already had performance planned, and I didn't want to ruin it for them. So I waited until the first event was done around late October, and I talked to my contact and told them that I would no longer be working with that club and thanked them for all the help. About a week after that, I got a call from the old president who told me that Emma called her and asked for her to talk to the sound engineers, as they don't want to talk to them anymore and are interested in working with them. And that's when she told them about our deal. And surely enough, I got an email that afternoon saying that I am invited to a meeting with the board to discuss club activities that I have been involved in the past year. To not go into what ended up being a 2-hour meeting, they basically asked me for help and said that they can't keep the club running without it, as it would cost them a lot of money they don't have, and they were willing to have me back, and I said no.
The following week, word got out, and I was bombarded with messages from members of the club telling me that it is not fair for me to punish them for what the board members did to me. My friends, one still in the club, and the ones that were kicked out with me are all on my side. Though I can feel that some are disappointed they won't be able to perform anymore, I do believe that since I'm not in the club anymore, I don't have to provide any help to them. But hearing the members' reaction and seeing my friends react the way as well makes me feel like I might be the AH here. So, am I the bad person for refusing to help out my old music club after they kicked me out?
So, this is a pretty tough situation overall. I would say you're not the bad person because, to put it into perspective, sometimes when you have someone, as part of a group, it's important to really understand their contributions to the group. Sometimes, people who come into a company, a group, or a club, in this case, don't really understand, what the person that's already there is doing. So before anyone even gets, kicked out or fired or whatever you want to call it, it's important to really assess what are the responsibilities of each person, in your organization, in your club, before making drastic decisions of just like tossing them to the side. I think I think overall you're not a bad person because your connections and the things you've worked on in your own life is what actually is what helped your group to achieve what they achieved. And if people didn't really back you up before you were let go, then that's their problem. I think overall you made the right decision because you shouldn't coddle people who treat you the way they treated you. So yeah, that's just my opinion on this. And yeah, let's move on to the next one now. Hello everyone, my name is Anthony and I'm the host of TheLostSanctuary. I hope you've been enjoying our content so far, and if you have, please feel free to like and subscribe. Also, we have our website up here, and we also have some socials down here, and as always, leave your comments down below. Am I the bad person to tell my brother to get a effing job?
I, 35F, live in a family-owned house with my brother, 41M, my mother, 62F, and my daughter, 2F. For the last decade, my brother has been in a cycle of being employed briefly, finding reasons to hate everyone he works with, losing his job, and spending months calling my mom and I names. His arguments brings up getting a job. You're a fucking cunt type of stuff, I fucking hate you, you're a fucking bitch, etc. Long drawn out tirades that would last days of him throwing fits and calling names, slamming doors, and refusing to discuss anything rationally. He won't contribute to bills, he won't contribute to groceries, he doesn't do his own dishes, and half the time he throws his garbage down on the counter or floor instead of just throwing them in the trash. He just wants to be in his room on his Xbox. My mom doesn't like how he acts, but if I ever push back against him, she expresses very firmly that I'm wrong to do so. Because if I would just be quiet and not set him off, it would be better. Because I know when I say something that he's going to fly off the handle and I need to keep the peace. She also says that what he's doing is an abuse. Recently, my brother threw a fit because I wanted pie and it had sugar in it. He doesn't eat sugar anymore. It turned into days of him yelling, slamming doors, and then giving the silent treatment because no one ever thinks of him. Now, on the same day, my mother also made homemade chicken pot pie, a creamy sort of biscuit and gravy dish, and there was a roast veggies in the fridge from the day before. There were apples, oranges, and bananas. There were even potato chips. He was not deprived. I even buy him his own tins of coffee every week. I buy myself a single tin and make it last the 2 weeks between my paychecks. The day after the pie, I was in the kitchen making my morning coffee when he came down slamming the door and giving the silent treatment. And finally I snapped. I said that he's a 41-year-old man and that I have to take care of everything else for him and that I shouldn't be responsible for his snacks too. That I'm allowed to have a pie from ingredients I bought with money I work for. I told Snap he needs to get a fucking job so he can buy his own shit and contribute. He and my mother were saying I emasculated him and I can't say stuff like that to a man. He threw an even bigger fit, started slamming around the house saying he was going to sell all the tools and leave. I regret swearing, but I don't think it's unfair or rude to remind him that he's a grown man and needs to support himself. I want to leave, but I can't run off and be homeless with my daughter in winter. And when I try to save money from my paycheck, I get treated like I'm being greedy somehow. I'm barely surviving financially, I'm breaking down physically and emotionally. In order to think I'm the asshole.
So, I would say in this situation, you are not the bad person, and your brother, despite facing setbacks of his own, of, for example, not being employed, I think sometimes people don't really take into account or appreciate what people do for them during these times. When you have a major setback in your life, it's not really all about you or what you're feeling, but it's also about the people that are supporting you during these tough times. When you have people like this that love you and care for you, the worst thing you can do is actually make them feel like their help isn't appreciated, which this is what it looks like. There's two aspects of this. The first aspect is that you need to appreciate the people that are around you and love you, and the second thing is you can't just wallow in your despair. You actually need to step out of your shell and actually do something with your life, because there's going to be a time, God forbid, when you don't have your loved ones anymore and you could effectively be homeless, you could be hungry because you yourself didn't make the decision to continue your path forward to making a better version of yourself. So yeah, this is my takes on it, and let's move on to the next one. Am I the bad person for rage quitting after I lost an election? I-28F have been a member of a large volunteer organization for several years. I am one of the longest standing members. I spent hundreds of hours on various aspects of it. I've held small leadership positions in almost every area, and I have a large amount of experience being the president of another organization as well. When I first joined, things were not doing well, so I, with others, worked our asses off to improve that, and we did. In fact, we did so well with improving the atmosphere that we had a massive amount of incoming members, who quickly became very close became very close with each other. Something we specifically encourage and have absolutely no idea how bad things used to be, or how much behind the scenes work it takes to maintain the way things are now. I ran for president in the most recent election. I ran against 5 other candidates. 4 of us had years of experience and had been preparing our campaign for months/years. One person, let's call him Alex, was extremely new, a few weeks, had 0 experience at all, decided to run at the very last minute, and had a very large friend group with other new members. Alex was barely allowed to run due to how new they were, but made the cut by a handful of days. You can see where this is going. It was extremely close between me and Alex, and it lost by 1 vote. The rest of the elected officials were all new members of the same friend group, also without experience. Then it was discovered that 9 to 10 votes, specifically the votes of other people in leadership positions who worked closely with me, were not counted. This is not intentional or malicious, simply a computer error. Apparently every single one of them voted for me. I technically won. They tried to get the election results overturned because of it, but higher-ups would not allow it, because they feared it would look like favoritism. At the end of the day, I was told to keep quiet and not let anyone know about this. That brings me to my current situation. Because nobody on the new executive team has any experience, I started facing a lot of pressure to take on a lower leadership position solely to guide them and to ensure our hard work doesn't go to hell. I absolutely refuse. In fact, I decided to drop all leadership roles and do absolutely nothing this year. This has led to multiple people telling me that I don't truly care about the organization, that I'll be responsible if it falls apart, etc. I feel like it's a slap in the face to expect me to do what a president does without the type to show it. Am I the asshole for dropping all the leadership positions and letting the new team do whatever the hell they want to do? So yeah, this is definitely definitely a weird situation. I'm just gonna be out front and just say you're not the bad person, and the reason for that is because this setback that you had wasn't even your fault. Overall, they said that they didn't want to really play favorites, but they did technically play favorites with Alex by letting that person win. Which, it's kind of like a inverse relationship where they want that person to win because of their popularity, and then secondly, they want you, who has the skills to lead, to then help that person succeed, which doesn't make sense. Which sometimes you do see that in the industry where there's people who advance beyond you, not because of their merit, but because of how popular they are. So, and sometimes they're kind of boosted by leadership because they just because of the way they are, personality wise. So that creates an environment that's very toxic and overall not a good fit. So I would say, based on like what I read here, it didn't really seem that organization really cared about you in the first place, because they if they really did care, they would have reversed the decision and made you the president, so you can continue to be invested in your organization. It's in order for an employer or member to be invested in something, you need to give them credit where credit is due. And overall, it didn't seem like this organization did that. So that's why I feel like you're not the bad person. Alrighty, that concludes Am I the Bad Person, episode 17. I hope everyone out there has a blessed day, and adios. Keep doing what you're doing. You're doing an amazing job, and I'm wishing everyone out there all the best. Alright, until next time, adios.